Jason, let me ask you. And you talk about this candidly, so I'm not saying anything out of school,
Yeah.
but you've talked about when there was an attempt to, quote unquote,
Cancel me.
cancel you.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like at a point, oh, this is working? Like this is working. Like I am
So
canceled.
so here's the thing, and this is why I don't believe in cancel culture. I'm somebody that people actually tried to cancel. I don't believe in cancel culture because one, cancellation is the end, right? And I think definitions, as an academic and a scholar, definitions are important. And the second thing is, look, the higher you fly, it's Icarus. The higher you fly, the more you're held accountable for what you say. Period.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Hmm.
when you are somebody who has a platform, you get held accountable. Now, we can be angry about how people are held accountable because some people are held accountable in some ways and other people are not. And there's a
Mhm.
racial dynamic and there's a gender dynamic to that. But you always got to take responsibility for what you say and do. What I think is kind of odd is that the people who've actually been canceled, meaning like they don't come back, it's not Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby wasn't canceled. Bill Cosby got in trouble and then went to jail. That's not cancellation. Cancellation is when people come after you and try to damage your platform or your employment or something else like that because they don't like the beliefs that you espouse. That's
Hmm.
cancel culture. That goes back to McCarthyism. That's Colin Kaepernick. And
Yeah.
that's what I think we have to understand about cancel culture. That's a man who got canceled. I didn't get canceled. Aziz Ansari didn't get canceled. Louis C.K. didn't get canceled. But I think in the context of this, Clay, and this is something else that I mentioned in the podcast, we always have to be aware of bad faith cancel culture. And
Mhm.
we have to be aware of those people who they're not really offended by what you've said or what you've done. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's Al Franken, right?
Yeah.
Republicans didn't really care about what Al Franken was accused of, but they could weaponize Democrats' values against them. So that's what I think we have to pay attention to. Every time you get in trouble, Army Hammer that's not cancel culture. You did weird stuff and, and your studio dropped you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't call that cancel culture. Cancel culture, I really think, is about the expression of unpopular ideas and people trying to shut you down. And I mean, and there's a much longer history in this country of Black people who spoke out in favor of civil rights, of the LGBTQ community speaking out in favor of these issues and being fired from jobs or being kicked out of schools or something. There's a much longer history of that than you
Yeah.
have of conservatives losing their jobs because they say they don't like
Absolutely.
gay people.
Mhm.
I mean, look at this country singer who I just found out about recently,
Mm.
Morgan Wallen, who said the N word on tape, saying the N word. Now he has the #1 album in the country, not on the
Yeah.
country charts, not on the country charts, but
Mm.
in the country, the Billboard 200 album chart. And they said, cancel, cancel, cancel. I mean, it also appears if you are on the right, the more conservative side of things, you're going to have a whole base who's going to support you. You're
Oh
going to have
yeah.
GoFundMe campaigns. You
Mhm.
you shoot and kill 2 people in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and you are get $2 million within a
Mhm.
month or so. Right, you're gonna be famous. They're gonna support you. They're gonna lift you up. Al Franken, we ain't heard from since.
Yeah. See, that's an actual cancellation. Like Al
Yeah.
Franken is out of politics and can't get back into politics, right? For something that, and I'm not even saying it was a problem. I'm not saying it wasn't a problem. I'm saying that is actually an example of somebody being canceled. And I think you mentioned these really good things. If you can keep doing the thing that you were doing beforehand, even at a different level, then you weren't canceled, right? And so that's where we really have to understand, and that's where it's sort of these bad faith arguments by Republicans about Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head and all this other kind of nonsense. Gina Carano, these people aren't canceled. And
Hmm.
and also, and I like this. Again, Loretta Ross talks about this when I interviewed her on the podcast. A word, she talks about the value of calling in versus calling out, right?
I'm
She's like,
calling you in to be a better person. I wrote that down. I'm
exactly.
Mm.
And
calling you
that's
in to be a better person.
Clay, you've had this happen. Reese, you've had this happen. I've had this happen. We've all had somebody text us or DM us after seeing us on the air, write something, say, yo, you probably could have said that better. And it works, right?
Not on me. I tell them
I
fuck
know.
off.
Whatever, Reese.
It ain't never worked on me. Maybe on you, but I don't budge.
but
I stand 10 toes
I,
down.
I've had people say, "Yo, hey, Jason, you think about this way or that way," because that's part of it. But I think again, what we have to always be careful of in our internet culture is there are some people whose entire reason that their entire existence, their professional credibility is by making conflict public and
That is true.
refusing to actually engage people privately. Because I can tell you dozens of times where I've had disagreements with people politically, and I'm like, yeah, let's take this offline. Like, I know you. Like, we have each other's phone numbers. We don't
Yeah.
have to do this in
Mhm.
public.
Mm.
But they want to make it a public conflict. And that's another part of cancel culture that I think is people need to be aware of. That you have these sort of bad faith arguments like, no. I want this to be a public dragging because that's how I increase my radio following or my social media following or something else like that. And that's where I think things can get really dangerous.
Reese, how do we operate in this when it comes within our community, right? Because there have been a couple of things that have happened. Let me think of an example. What's an example? When Jill Scott was defending Bill Cosby, folks lost their minds. I didn't want to say anything about it because I just didn't want to. I don't know. I just didn't want to say anything about it. I mean, I don't know Jill Scott. I don't know her, but she's never been an enemy. She's not Candace Owens. She's not upholding white supremacy. She made a comment that was kind of bizarre, but I didn't want to. She was trending for 2 days. I didn't want to join in on because she's a part of us and she's done good work and been pretty harmless. Right. So what do we do when it's within our community and somebody makes a mistake or what it's perceived to be a mistake and folks are like, going off on them and they're trending for 2 or 3. Now, Lil Wayne and Ice Cube, you're in politics now and you're meeting with Jared Kushner. So you're aligning yourself with power. Yeah. So that's a little bit different. Now it's a little bit different now. That's a little slick.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I drag people all the time. I've actually really let people be great for at least 6 months now, if not longer. But but I think there's a difference between asserting yourself as an authority on a topic and your own opinion. People are entitled to their opinion, okay? You might think it's stupid. Every time I see somebody trending and they have a stupid ass opinion, I just be like, okay, well, that's none of my business. I don't care, Right. There are some dangerous narratives that are out there that should be pushed back on. I don't think it's dangerous for somebody to have an opinion that they still support somebody because for whatever stupid reason they want to support them. But when you are trying to advance destructive, homophobic, misogynistic, certain kinds of narratives, then you need to be checked. But just a difference of an opinion or somebody says something like Tiffany Haddish, she always in trouble for something. And sometimes I'm like, girl, what the hell is you doing? Other times I'm like, why y'all got to get on Tiffany about that? So there is a balance, but I think we should try to extend each other some grace. I try to do that. I know I don't have a reputation of doing that, but I promise you, I extend a lot of grace to a lot of Black people, a lot.
You gave Ice Cube some grace. You were on air with him. You really did try. You put an actual effort. You did. I saw it. It was viral.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
There you go. That didn't go viral. That did not go viral. When I was saying, hey, Ice Cube, I think you should include Black women in the contract. I'm willing to help. I think it got a couple of hits. Now, when I cut
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw it. But when I cussed him out and I went berserk, then it was like 10,000 followers. And I'm like,
right.
So it does sell, to Jason's point. I don't do it to sell, but people like controversy, people like conflict. But I still think that we should try to extend each other some grace. If somebody don't agree with your opinion, that's their opinion. Now, if somebody's an authority and they're presenting their opinion as a fact, and that opinion is destructive to another person, then that's
like Daniel Cameron.
Yeah,
Daniel Cameron.
Yeah,
that's cancel him, please.
Daniel Cameron, Lori Lightfoot. I mean, there are some elected officials. Yeah, Tim Scott. There's some elected officials out there. And notice I mentioned some Democrats and some Republicans who have done things that have been dangerous to our community that we have every right to criticize. And I'll say this also, this is a professional thing for me. Like, this show IG Lives or whatever it is, I have just sort of a general principle, and I've said this in multiple places. Unless I think you're doing harm, I generally don't have a lot of criticism for other Black journalists and commentators. I'm like, we can take this offline. I can talk to you offline. There are lots of us out there that may have opinions that I agree with, some I really vehemently disagree with, but unless I think you are trying to harm us as a people, we can take this online, because I don't do Black on Black crime.
Unless it's about Kamala, then me, the brass knuckles is coming out. I'm not giving nobody a pass, Black or white, on Kamala. Anybody else? Okay, whatever. If you want to talk about Lori Lightfoot, you know, okay, I'll give you some grace. But when it comes to VP, that's who I'm on your ass immediately on that.